Hello Whovians and welcome to my latest Doctor Who review, where today I review Ghostlight, which is the 153rd Doctor Who story, but it is actually the very last story to have been filmed for the classic series, so it's quite historical on that reason. So, Ghostlight, the basic plot is as follows. The Doctor brings Ace to Gabriel Chase, an old house that she once burnt down in her hometown of Perivale. However, trying to get Ace to accept her guilt is not the real reason the Doctor came here. A mysterious and highly mentally unstable being slays below them. So, Ghostlight. This is an interesting story. I wish I could say I liked it more. I think Ghostlight is okay. I think it's alright, but for me, the problem with this story is the story itself, the storytelling. It's not that the idea of the story is bad, but it is actually really hard to follow, even though the story itself isn't that complicated. When it was explained to me by my good friend Jack the Film Fanatic, despite his efforts to try and explain it to me, the story itself, to me, it just never really made a lot of sense, and I kind of lost interest in it as it went on, and it just kind of laid there on the screen without much consequence, really. I think the problem is, I think this story is short. I think this story being 3 parts, it feels jumbled, and it feels like there's too much going on in this story. The story doesn't flow. I couldn't keep up with it, so I think it would have been a lot better to have the story be 4 parts, and for them to have fleshed it out a bit more, because then I might have been able to understand it more, but watching the damn thing, you just can't understand it. It's too confusing. But I won't say it's without merit. One thing that I do appreciate about this story is the character development for Ace. This is quite possibly Sophie Aldred's best performance so far. She gives an amazing emotional performance. We discover a bit more about her past and how she went to the house and how something scared her. So this is really her story. This is a really great story for her to kind of get her teeth into. Even though Ace appears to be very tough on the outside, on the inside, when it comes to this house, she is terrified. And I think Sophie Aldred does a good job at giving us an insight into Ace and her past, which is interesting. And even though Ace did quite a terrible thing, she did it for a very good reason. I really like the emotional draws into the story through Ace, and I think that is what really works about the story from her perspective. I do like Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor. I think he's doing another great job, and he's going a bit darker as well. Like I said, in Battlefield, he was getting darker, and in this, he gets darker even still. I think the villains are okay. I mean, the actual creatures that are there, I don't actually know what their names are, but they're okay. They're not badly designed. John Hallam plays Light. He's pretty good. He's okay, I suppose. In the supporting characters, you have Desire, played by Ian Hogg. He's probably the most memorable of the lot, but the rest of them, they really don't do a lot for me. There's Gwendolyn, played by Catherine Schelsinger. Yeah, Catherine Schelsinger plays Gwendolyn. She, at one point, sings this weird song called On the Way to the Zoo, or something like that. It's just very quite bizarre. I don't quite understand that. Those are just a few of the names in the cast, but I think the visuals of the story are really great, and I think this story definitely sells itself well as looking not as cheap as some of the other stories in McCoy's era. So I appreciate that they put more effort into the locations and the aesthetics. There are a couple of dated effects shots with the lightning, but that's forgivable. That's totally fine. For me, the story becomes a little bit boring as it goes along, because I just fail to understand the story. I think the storytelling is really bad. I think it's incomprehensibly told. It feels very, not disjointed, but overbearing. I think that's the word. It's overbearing. There is too much going on in this plot. It's just all over the place. Despite my good friend Jack trying to explain it to me, I'm sorry, man. From the perspective of the episodes, it just doesn't work for me. It's written by Mark Platt, and I think his ideas are good, but I don't know whether, he was struggling with the script or whatnot, but when it lays on the screen, you just can't make heads or tails of it. Alan Waring's direction, it's not bad, but you can clearly tell he's kind of struggling to wrestle the story. The story is almost at war with itself. There's too much going on in this plot. They needed to simplify it in order for it to be cohesive for 3 parts. It should have been stripped down, because it just feels like a 4-part story crammed into a 3-part story. And as a consequence, it really loses its way. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. It really just loses its way. I mean, it certainly has a scare factor, and I think the costumes look great. Like I say, the settings and the costume look really good, and it's Sophie Aldred's best performance by far. But just as a package, it just doesn't work for me. The story is very overbearing, as I've said before. It's overbearing. McCoy gives a great performance. It's definitely played more seriously, which I appreciate. But at the end of the day, it's a very meh. it's forgettable. I wouldn't say it's terrible, because I do like some of the aspects to the story, and definitely Ace's character development is something I really enjoy hearing, and the scenes with her and the Doctor are really good when she's talking about the house and her memories and everything that happened there. As a cohesive story, it really doesn't work. It's a fail, unfortunately, and I was very disappointed with it. So to kind of round it off, I don't have a huge amount to say. I'm going to give Ghostlight, I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 10. I'm really sorry, I just can't bring myself to give it a pass. I just cannot give it a pass, because the story is so badly executed. But it looks great. It looks great. It's great to look at. It definitely has the scare factor. It's quite a good one to watch on Halloween, I suppose, if it's pretty scary. But the fact that you have to look elsewhere to work out what the plot is a really bad sign for me. So anyway, that's my review of Ghostlight. What do you think of the story? Please comment down below. Let me know. If I'm in the minority, then oh well, so be it. But that's just my opinion. Stay tuned next time when I review The Curse of Fenric, which is not technically McCoy's penultimate story, because technically McCoy's penultimate story is survival, because he leaves in the TV movie. But of the classic series, it is the penultimate story of the classic series, so we are so close to the end now, folks, and yeah, Ace is also going to be leaving the show very soon, so that's something. Anyway, thank you very much all for watching. Stay tuned for my Curse of Fenric review, and until next time, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye for now.